baskets around. You was going to sing, wasn't you? Was you going to sing? Thank you guys, we appreciate you doing that. I'd like to welcome everyone this morning, good to have you out. I'd like to invite you to come out and be with us in Sunday school at 10 o'clock. Worship service starts at 11, then Sunday evening at 6, and then we have a Wednesday evening service at 7. I could invite you to come out and be with us in all those, and for those of you that might be watching us through the stream. We had any birthdays or anniversaries this past week?
No, but we've missed Ginger, so we need to sing to Ginger.
Stand on that mic again. Are we going to do a birthday for her, or are we going to do welcome back, or what are we doing?
She had her birthday on the 21st.
Did you? I think that's,
You don't remember?
I was there.
It's fall.
We better not be doing an anniversary for her. I can do
Yeah,
It's a surprise to me too. Happy birthday.
I guess.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. For those of you that might be streaming, the reason we did that, she's been at college for quite a while. It's good to have her back. It's her first Sunday back full time. So that's just the way we roll here. Let's take up our offering right quick. And I'm kind of out of order on all that. So Kevin, would you and David come on up and do the offering? David, you asked the Lord to bless the offering this morning.
Our precious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, so much for the privilege to be here. Thank you for each one of you. Thank you, Lord, for this another day. You've given us life and health and strength and joy. We ask your blessings upon this offering. Lord, let it be used for your honor and glory, God, be on your kingdom. Bless the gift and giver, those unable to give, bless them too. Be with us in the service. Bless the singer. Bring the message. Pray for the lost soul here today that I'll leave out the door. They find you as their Savior, for asking you tonight.
Amen. guess you ladies have ladies' aid coming up on, I think it's staying on the fifth, Saturday? Tuesday, this Tuesday.
Ladies' Day meeting on Tuesday, and then we'll have our ladies' luncheon for Mother's Day type thing on Saturday morning at 10:30.
Okay, everybody get that?
Service and lunch to follow.
Okay, service and lunch to follow at the ladies' thing Saturday.
So then we're going dress shopping on this week sometimes.
Mark will be great.
Just for lunch.
Let's see, we got, our movie night, second movie in the series, or is that third? Third movie in the series that we're going through. And be, on the 7th, our evening service.
Be tonight.
Oh,
Tonight's the same.
okay, I'm way behind.
And we'll do sandwich night tonight to make it easy, so sandwich and chips.
So this is our family night tonight? Okay. Any other announcements?
I guess we'll have a Deacons meeting at 5:30. If you're not able to, that's fine. I understand. So we'll do a Deacons meeting at 5:30, so.
Okay. All righty. Anything else? All right, let's have prayer requests right quick and we'll go to the Lord in prayer. Anybody got any requests this morning I'd like to make? No.
Remember us today, we have an open house from 2 to 4, so.
Remember Emmy's mom, she had an accident Thursday, she got hit by a car, so remember her, she's at home now. And also, when I was at the hospital visiting her, I saw Brother Daniel Willis, he's a preacher in our organization, and his granddaughter was in a car accident and had some brain trauma, so remember her, she's 16 years old.
Yes, let's remember that. Anyone else? The unspoken. That's all the kennel will meet in their office this morning. Heavenly Father, we want to come to you.
Service this morning was our lunch and shower. Blessing, help us.
Thank you, God, for who you are, and that you still share the ones that are here today, Lord, we pray God for the service, Lord, we pray God you just be with each one of them, Lord, if there's a need here, Lord, we pray God that need be met, Lord, we pray God again for the ones that are hurting today, God, Lord, to Lord, the Lord, those that are hurting, the loss of a loved one, we pray God that you just meet each need, Lord, for healing. Lord, we pray, Lord, for Connie and for Danny's granddaughter. Lord, we pray, God, for each situation that's going on in our church. We know we've got so many sick that still need to touch from you. Lord, no doubt that you're healing them from you. We ask you, God, for your presence here today. Lord, we pray, God, you just show up, Lord, in a mighty way. Lord, we pray, God, in the singing and testimonies, Lord, and the preaching, whatever it is that we pray, God, that you just take over in the service today, and Lord, just help us, Lord, to be instruments for you. Lord, we pray, God, be with each one, bless each one that takes a part in today's service. In Jesus' name, we pray.
Amen.
We'll do blue book.
We'll make sure we
The blue book. Oh,
I'm not happy with the blue book, right?
you're not happy with the blue book? No.
I said, I'm not gonna do the blue book.
He's not happy with the blue book. Let's start out with 137. Poor Millie, she needs somebody else. Let's see. Oh, 136.
Oh, well, it was one Thursday, but I was looking at the wrong page. Oh,
Oh, okay. Then that's.
Let's see.
it's in 2 pages.
That's perfectly fine.
She doesn't see. Yeah. And it goes down to
I know. Let's hear our bass.
Now face.
Alley bass. This has bass lead. I remember seen it when we was singing that song. Okay, we're gonna do 280. Just worked out that way. Well, the Lord worked it out that way.
That goes up pretty good. I'm over the 8.
I once was sad and lonely. This one's hard, but I get homesick sometimes, I know the Lord has a job for us all to do, and I'm gonna stay here to do that job because I know, that I'm saved. I know that from the bottom of my heart, there is no doubt, but I do get homesick. There's a lot of people on the other side, a lot of good people, so I wasn't gonna do it, but I'll get a whipping if I don't, so I'm gonna do it.
I really want to welcome everybody out this morning. Good to see everybody here. Good to have my cousin Ed with us this morning. I told Mom the other night, I said, tell him to come to church with us. And sure enough, he's here this morning. I'm like, wow, I wish it was that easy with everybody. But no, we do. We're glad to see each and every single one of you here. And a couple of quick announcements before we get started here. I have all the preachers lined up for. And I have my badge on for some reason this morning. Somebody got to tell me stuff like this, okay? We had I was in Pigeon Forge yesterday, and we ate at CC's. So I dropped Barbie off, and then I went up to try to find Alex those fidget spinners and stuff. And I get back, and when I got back to Vanity Fair, she said, "You've got all kinds of spinach in your teeth." And I went and looked, and it looked like my teeth was rotting out. And I know all these people that I talked to while I was gone probably thought, man, this guy needs to learn to brush his teeth. I just ate it, I just ate it it was good at CC's, but man, that stuff sticks to your teeth apparently. So yeah, I went and cleaned them off, and then I went back to each place I went and told them. I said, I think I actually told the cashier there at the Beehive. I said, were you the one that checked me out? I promise my teeth aren't rotten out. I've cleaned them now. I had to go to the bathroom and kind of pick them out. But see, first impressions mean a lot. Anyway, I have all the preachers. That's a roundabout way to get there, but have all the preachers lined up for our revival services. Thursday night will be Gary Cavan. Friday night will be Billy Gregg, and then on Saturday night will be Preston Patrick. So we have the Singers Union Trio lined up for Saturday. Is that right? So we need 2 more groups of singers, maybe. But I may just let the singers that are here, and then especially the ones that used to sing at the church, I may leave those 2 nights open. And I think that might be what we do, and just let the singers that come sing what's on their heart that night. So we may just leave that open instead of getting groups, unless y'all know a group that used to go here. Yeah, Ginger can sing too. But no, we do. We're looking forward to that. Billy was and Preston and Gary were all really excited about that. They thought it was a great idea. You know, a lot of times we don't recognize these anniversaries, but you know, God put together a lot of feasts and a lot of holidays that the Jewish people had so they could remember. I think a lot of times we need to set aside and just recognize what God's done for us over the last 70 years. Yeah, none of us were here when those doors were open, but we're here today because those doors were open. So, and we need to recognize that. None of us are living in America today because we didn't fight in the Revolutionary War, but we're there, and we remember it today because of the willingness of those men to fight in those wars. Not only that one, but all the wars that we fought in between. And that's why we ought to recognize our veterans. So you know, it's about remembering and recognizing and thanking God for all He's done for us. So looking forward to that. Please be inviting people, as many as you can. I'd love to see the house full all 3 nights. So anybody have a song this morning? All right, I'm going to ask the deacons to come up and take up an offering of fidget spinners if we can. No, I was just going to take them away. No, I'm just kidding. I still don't get it. I don't believe I ever will. You know, I don't know. It's just, but hey, if the teenagers like them, I think when Barbie saw it, 4 pictures that define this year in the school systems, and it has the what is that called? Dab. That's apparently when I used to call that ducking. I don't know. It's and there's the water bottle flip. I've seen that way too much at my house this year. The slime, of course, we know that one, and now the fidget spinner. So you know this year, and sometime I think they tried to get an education in the schools too, in the midst of all that. It's amazing to me. We ought to thank our teachers for putting up with the stuff that they put up with. So, but yeah, it's pretty amazing. So nobody has a song? All righty. I thought today was going to be the last day of this series. It's not. Okay? It is the next day in the series, but it's not the last day. We got one more week. God showed me something last week, and so we're going to go through one more week regarding the fruits of the Spirit. Now today, we're talking about probably the one that everybody in this place has the biggest problem with, okay? And me included. If you look in Galatians chapter number 6, we'll just go through and read them all just to recap where we've been. But Galatians chapter 5, I'm sorry. But it says, but the fruit of the Spirit in verse 22 is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Now we've gotten all the way through meekness. Today is temperance. Now, anybody know what temperance is? It's something that none of us have. I'm telling you right now. It's something I think we really ought to work on if we're really going to truly be the Christian that we ought to be. And I'll say it in a different way, and you'll see what I mean. It's called self-control.
I believe we lose control of ourselves way too much. As Christians, as people, just out in the world today, I believe we do lose our control way too much. And I'm going to go through a few things that I've come up with just to show you some examples. And the first place I'm going is Ephesians. And the first place that we lose our control is in our temper. And in the book of Ephesians, it's talking about putting on the new man. You know, it says that you be renewed in the spirit of your mind. For Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23, it says that you put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Wherefore, putting away lying, speaking every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. But here's where I want to focus. In verse 26, it says, Be ye angry, and sin not, neither let the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. Now I want you to, and you can go through, and it says, let him that steals steal no more, and things like that. So we're going to get there too in a little bit. But the first place, and I think everybody thinks about self-control. What's the first thing you think of? It's anger, right? We all get mad. We all get angry. We all get to the point where it's just we just want to explode, and in some cases we do. It seems like every single one of us gets to that point at some point in our life. I've been there daily, it seems like lately. I don't know what it is. Not really, but it seems like recently we just get to the point where we get so angry at the world, at our family, at our friends, at our enemies. It doesn't matter what it is. At the news, we get so angry at everything in the world that we just want to lash out at whoever's standing there next to us, it seems like. But the problem is, I think what a lot of the people don't realize is when you get that angry, think about the last time that you got super angry. And I want you to think about what you said. I want you to think about what you did, and I want you to think about would it be something that you would do on a normal daily basis? Okay, now why would you not do that on a normal daily basis? Because what you have when you're in your right frame of mind, you have what's called self-control. It doesn't mean you don't want to punch that person in the mouth, but you can take a deep breath and then you can say, you know what, that's probably not the right thing to do. You think about it and you don't do it. Why? Because it's not the right thing to do. And when you get mad and you lose that self-control, you say things that hurt people. You do things that hurt people. You want to make sure that they feel the pain that you imagine yourself feeling at that moment in time. And what happens is, if you remember that time that you've been so angry, what you'll find is that it feels like that it's not you, that all you're doing is sitting back and watching it happen, even though it's coming out of your mouth and coming through your hands. I've seen it so many times. You see it in the news how people will, they call it second-degree murder, when you get so angry that you do something that you normally wouldn't do, that you have to, you become another person. And that's what it's saying here. Well, if you become another person, who is it that you're becoming? Well, it tells you right here in these verses of Scripture. What does it say? Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. So what happens is, when you get that anger built up inside of you, and you decide that you're going to lose your self-control, somebody's in control. Make no mistake about that. The devil will absolutely step in and take over and let you and turn you into something that you don't want to be. Now, there's a lot of people that have great intentions in their life, that they don't want to lose control. But when they do, make no mistake about it, all you're doing is giving a place for the devil to step in. What we need to do is be able, like Jesus did when the Pharisees came and accused him. I know there were so many times he was so frustrated with the Pharisees, he would have liked to have just spoke the word and had them wiped from existence. There were probably times that the disciples said things that he would have probably been like, no. That he would have probably just like to spoke the words and just wiped them from existence. But look at God today looking towards us. How many times should He lose his temper with us because of the things that we do? And yet we're still here today because of His grace and His mercy and His what? Self-control. Because I'm telling you right now, God has that self-control, and He gives us that example every single day. When we fail Him and He doesn't strike us down, that's His self-control. That's an example that we need to follow. We have got to be today within control of our own selves, because what we're to be doing today is being a picture of who Christ is, and we can't do that if the devil has control of our bodies today. If we give him control, if you look at the stories of all these exorcisms and demonic possessions, okay, make no mistake about it, they're real. Why do I know they're real? They were spoken about in the Bible, and the Bible's God's truth. Make no mistake about it, but the problem is the devil cannot come in unless he's invited. Okay, he can't come into your heart unless he's invited. Jesus won't come into your heart unless he's invited. So when you lose control today, what you're doing is you're giving that devil an open invitation to walk in and take control of your life. It's not just anger, though, folks. And you can hurt a lot of people with anger, but you can hurt a lot of people with everything. There's temptations today. Temptations are, a self-control is not just simply about avoiding getting angry. I've always said this, speaking about getting angry. If you can control your temper behind the wheel of your car and on the golf course, you got it licked. I'm telling you right now. Because I'm telling you, we get mad. We see road rage happen all the time. Most of the time, and I think I've shared this story, but I'll share it again for those of you who hadn't heard it. I was up in North Virginia one time. And I get mad, I get road rage. I'm better about that now. I really am. I'll still blow my horn occasionally, but I'm still better about it now. I don't get so mad that I scream and yell at them. But I was in Northern Virginia going to work one morning, and I was just driving along. This guy behind me flashing his lights. I'm in the middle of traffic. It's not like I'm going anywhere. I don't know what he was mad about. I really don't. He was flashing his lights and tailgating me, and I'm still trying to figure out what it was to this day he was upset about, but he was really laying down on his horn. When I went to turn, I turned my signal light on. He got in the left-hand lane so he could get around me and get up to me, and I looked over at him, and he told me I was number one, and I don't know. But to this day, I have no idea what I did. That's the problem with getting mad. The only person you're really hurting is yourself. I still don't worry about it. I'd really like to know what I did. I would apologize for it. It's no big deal. But I don't know what I did. Obviously, I didn't hurt him. He was still okay. He could still drive. I didn't hit his car or anything. But he was fine. To see the problem with getting mad at somebody, the only person you're hurting is yourself. You've lost control. He had absolutely no control over his body that day. I've been there. I've been to the point where I've been so angry. Most of them were in my first year of marriage. I'm serious. I felt like I was just sitting there watching it happen. And then I had to replace the drywall once or twice. I'm serious. You get mad, and then you look back on it, and you're like, how could I do that? Don't we do that? How could I do that? You ever hear somebody in the paper, I love these quotes, well, that's not me. It's in there somewhere. You don't want to let it out. That's the problem. We all have that inside us somewhere. You don't want to let it out. Now, talking about temptation, let's look at David for just a second. David, a man after God's own heart, okay? What did he do? He was standing up there. He was looking out his window, and he sees a woman bathing. He says, I've got to have her. Now, he could have sat there and said, you know what? I better find out if she's available first. Didn't matter to him. He had no self-control. See, that's the problem with us today. When we face temptations out in the world, and it's not just that, it's also our alcohol, the drugs. You see, the problem is you have no self-control. I was reading an article on, whether or not alcohol is a sin, and if you drink it in moderation, is it okay, and all this and all. But this one guy said, no, it's not okay, and here's why. And the reason he gave was this, okay? And I'm not going to go into that today or whatever, however you want to. I mean, I know what our bylaws say and everything. So what I wanted to say was this. Here's the reason he gave. He says, somebody explained to me that it was okay in moderation. He said, so I allowed, he said, so that night was the first time I ever let alcohol touch my mouth. He said, that night was also the first time I ever became drunk. See, you see how it works? He had no self-control whatsoever. He said, well, I'm fine. I'm in control. The problem is the alcohol actually removes that control. And if you drink too much of it, and if you do the math, it works out to be about 3 drinks. You may feel like you're still in control, but when you get behind the wheel of the car, you'll find that you're going to be going this, and the road's going to be moving when it doesn't look right. Why? Because your mind has lost control and it doesn't know how to process it. The same with drugs today. There are certain drugs that you take them one time, and it gives you such an addiction that you want to quit. You want to say, I don't want to do this anymore. There are alcoholics today that say, I'm never going to touch another drink again. But as soon as they smell it, they have to have a drink. They can't stop themselves. There are people that smoke today. My dad, bless his heart, he smoked. Alex threw a carton of cigarettes away, and he got some added Alex. It's the first time, 2 cartons of cigarettes away. He got some added Alex over that, but he couldn't stand not smoking. I mean, but it was a lack of self-control in a way, because there's an addiction that's built up there over time, sometimes, or in some cases instantly. But we become so dependent on those things that it doesn't matter what happens. You look at the drug addicts today. You see all these theft rings and things like that. Most of them aren't to get money to spend to go on vacation. Most of them are simply doing the things that are necessary for them to get the money to support their drug habit. Why? Because they've lost self-control. They don't have the ability to stop themselves by themselves. But let me tell you something that God can give you. That when you've got these addictions, when you've got these things that you have to do. You've got people that'll walk by something, and I kid you not, it's like, ooh, that's pretty, I'm going to put that in my pocket and go. They can't stop themselves. They're called kleptomaniacs, according to Barney Fife, but kleptomaniacs is what they're really called. But they can't stop themselves from stealing. They have no self-control. You see, the thing is that we've given up at some point. We've decided that we're going to give up this self-control. We're not going to hold ourselves accountable for anything. And we're going to say, I just can't help myself. Or the devil made me do it. You ever hear that? Let me tell you this right now. The devil will not make you do anything. He will put stuff in front of you. But ultimately what you do is going to be a decision that is made within your mind and within your heart. Where your heart is, those are the things that are going to come out. Who you are on the inside is what you're going to do when push comes to shove. We need to have, as the Bible says, self-control, temperance. That's what we've got to do. Why? Because the world's going to make us mad. We're here to what? Take the message to the world. We're here to take the message of salvation. Jesus died on the cross of Calvary so that we can all be saved. I want to make sure that's included in every message that I say. Because that is the message that we're trying to preach today. But what the world's seeing is a very angry bunch of people because we're angry at what all the world is trying to take away from us. We ought to have joy in our heart. We ought to have peace in our life. And if we have the joy and the peace that it talks about before this, then we'll have that self-control. Why? Because they can't do anything about it. They can't change that. Nothing is going to change with God. It's the same message. But what we have to do is we have to take it to them, like I said, meekness, gentleness. All these things go together. But if we have a loss of self-control, the gentleness goes away. If we have a loss of self-control, the meekness goes away. All that stuff builds on the other, but we have to have the self-control to stay where we need to be in order to be effective messenger for Christ. That's what we have to do. We have to have self-control in our life. And like I said, it's not just about the anger, but it's about the temptations that we face. We have to have enough self-control to say, you know what? No thanks. Kids, you're going to face temptations when you go to parties. Don't go to the parties. If you can't, Honestly, there are people that cannot resist the temptation. There are people that I'm convinced are predisposed to being alcoholics. Don't even take the first drink if you can't say no or stop after one. And honestly, it's don't ever do that, and you won't have that temptation to go back and do it again. The thing is, don't try that drug ever, because all these drugs are completely addictive. That's what you have to remember. And you will give up that self-control. And if you give up the self-control, like I said, the devil is perfectly willing to take over. Now, now God is not asking us to give up our self-control. He will come in, He will guide us, and there will be times in our life when we can't get through something. We voluntarily give up control in that case, but we're giving it to the right person, the one that can help lead us and guide us and get us through the problems that we're facing. But that's what we have to do, is we have to maintain that self-control. We have to maintain stay in our right mind. You've seen these people that they really lose control of themselves. We call them insane, don't we? We lock them up, don't we? Well, in a lot of cases, I believe, you've heard the defense, temporary insanity? Yeah, it's a real thing. Because when you get to the point where you've lost control, it's really not who you are on the inside. But the problem is, the first time you lose control, it might be difficult. The next time gets a little easier. And then the next time a little easier. And then in a lot of cases, that person that you've become becomes who you really are. That's why we don't need to lose self-control. It's a process. That's why we don't need to lose our temper like we always seem to do. We need to stay in control. You're like, wait a minute. Jesus became angry, didn't he? Didn't he overturn the tables? So that's one I think a lot of people say, oh, well, Jesus overturned the tables. You got to be firm. But let me make no mistake about it. Jesus was absolutely in control. Jesus was preaching to him and saying, you've turned my Father's house into a den of thieves. He had a message and he had a purpose. And that's okay to be angry. The Bible didn't say not to get angry. It said be angry and sin not. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to yell occasionally. But never lose control. Because when you do, you're going to regret it. If you've ever regretted saying something, that's when you've lost control. If you've ever said anything that you didn't mean, you thought it maybe, and you know, I would never have said that if I had actually just taken one deep breath. I would never have let that come out. Then you've lost control. And what we need to do is maintain that control if we're going to be the Christian that God wants us to be. That's a sign of being a Christian. Remember what the fruits of the Spirit are? It's who we are. It's evidence of who we are, is what it is. The fruits are evidence of who we are. A true Christian today, one that's really being as close to God as he can possibly be, is showing the self-control. Now, Dad was the greatest one I've ever seen at that, to be quite honest. He not only had self-control, he'd control us all. Now, y'all calm down. You don't need to get overly mad. I don't know that I've ever seen him yell at anybody. You know, I told these politicians today, they don't have self-control. It seems like they want to get in there and they want to make a change, and I believe a lot of them get into it for the right reasons. But what happens? They get in there and they find out it's hard. So what do? They just conform to whatever everybody else is doing. But you know, I remember my dad went around campaigning for District 5 over in Scott County. Wanted to be a supervisor. He wanted to make a change. Went up to this one man's house, and this one man said, "Are you a good person?" And he said, "Well, I like to believe that I am." He says, "Then I won't vote for you." And Dad said, "I don't understand." He says, "It'll change you." You see, he didn't want to see a good man turn to be what you would have to be a politician. And so, you know, because he knows it's hard to keep your self-control in those situations. In a lot of cases, it's not about simply having self-control. Sometimes the self-control means knowing what your limitations are, knowing the fact that you're going to be put in a situation where you might lose your self-control, and what you need to do is have enough self-control to not even put yourself in that position. You know, when I was in college, I would be invited to parties and things like that on the weekends. And what I would do is I would get in the car and I would drive home. I would come 3 hours to my house. I didn't go to the parties. Why? Because I didn't want to become something I didn't want to be. Now, have I made mistakes? Have I lost my temper? I've already told you that. But we're not perfect. But I knew that could take me down the wrong road. When I was in a freshman year, y'all come on, I want to tell this story. My freshman year of college, I was talking about the alcoholics, you know. You get freedom when you go out to school. It's not always the kind of freedom that you wanted to have. Sometimes it is. You've looked forward to being able to do things that your mom and dad always said you couldn't do because you didn't understand why you couldn't. So there was this boy my freshman year, lived in West Eggleston Hall. I just remember where he lived because this story stuck with me. He went to a party one night. When they did his autopsy, his blood alcohol content was 0.43. He died of alcohol poisoning because he had no self-control. I see people today driving around with their phones, driving with their phone here and their steering wheel here, and they're looking at their phone more than they're looking at the road. They can't do without that phone. They have no self-control. You know, it's not just alcohol. We like to harp on alcohol. We like to harp on drugs and things like that. It's phones. It's TV. It's just a general knowing what I've got to do and making sure that it gets done. That's self-control today, folks. We've got a job to do for God, and that's spread the gospel. We need to have enough self-control to realize that we need to get that job done because God's coming back quickly. Let's all stand as they sing a verse of a song.
Living below in this old sinful world.
The altar's open.
Hardly a comfort can afford. Striving alone to face temptation sore. Where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul. Needing a friend to save me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord? Life here is grand with friends I love so dear. Comfort I get from God's own word. Yet when I face the chilling hand of death, where could I go but to the Lord?
Don't apologize. We keep singing. I don't. So next week, we're going to wrap this up. It's going to be more of a summary, but I thought of something this week that I want to do next week. So to wrap up the fruits of the Spirit, and it's basically, what does it really mean? And it's not just simply evidence of being a Christian. Okay, there's a lot more to it than that, and I wanted to share the realization I got. So everybody be much in prayer for that. Come back tonight at 6 o'clock. We'll do 5:30 if you're a deacon and you can make it. I don't think Kevin can make it, but we'll meet. Trying to think. We'll do the movie night. I think it's Joshua, so you're probably going to see the walls of Jericho come tumbling down, as they say. I think it's Joshua and then some of the other battles that it might be Samson and those guys as well. I'm not sure if that's in there too. So we'll see a bunch of stories from kind of after the Exodus and entering into the Promised Land. So it should be pretty good. And everybody's just bringing sandwich stuff. Have y'all coordinated that, or do y'all need to coordinate afterwards? Okay. The other thing I wanted to announce, if anybody wants to go to the Lamplight this afternoon, it's at 3:00. It's a couple hours. Kevin said that Emmy could get tickets, so if anybody wants to go over there and watch the play that Millie and Jude are in, both of you or just you? Okay, both of them are in. Feel free to do that. So, anybody else have anything at all? Just talk to Kevin afterwards. All right. Anything else? All right. That's David dismisses.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this message. Thank you for everything. Thank you for this day. We thank you for the children today. Lord, lead us, guide us, direct us, make sure you protect us, like us each one from home safely. You get us through the day, bring us back to the house tonight. Meet with all requests being made. And with each need and each desire, Lord, ask it all in your name.